Have any sales from this auction moved the needle on any future keeper list books? I mean, for me, like the things that move, it's like, does it become too expensive for me to own? Like that's and I generally don't talk about future keeper list books. And the reason is because if I do, it means there's more people out there that want it potentially, and then it's harder for me to get that book. so so I usually like I will typically wait to talk about a keeper book for me until after I've actually purchased it. I'm generally not going to talk about it beforehand. I'm not going to make content where I like like say like, oh, this book is terrible, you shouldn't buy it. I will not do that. But I'm not going to actively like say like, hey, this is a cool book I'm looking for. And because I mean, there's a couple reasons. One, then I tend to have like a lot of people message me and say like, hey, I've got this book, or hey, here's, and I don't want that. I'm always looking for the deal. I'm not, I want to try to find it in an auction, catch it at a low price or something. That's what I'm going to be looking for. Um, so I usually keep those to myself until I'm actually out there bidding. Or until I actually own it. Yeah, Mickey. That's why I stopped making my wish list videos. Yeah, like I mean, like I regularly have people tell me after I talk about books on a thing, they're like, "Oh, that book's so cool. I'm definitely gonna be looking for that." It's like that is why. That is why I don't talk about the books until after I have them, because it makes it so much harder for me to find like a decent price for some of these, especially like and like the fact that I have now transitioned mostly into golden age. It's even worse because if you've got a book that only comes up for sale once every few months at best, and then you've got, even if it's just two other people that are like, oh, I'm interested in that, you've got now two more people you're competing with in that auction, and all it takes is one more to make you have to pay a lot more for that book. So it's definitely something where I'm just like, yeah, like wish list books. Like I even thought about making a wish list video this year, and I stopped myself. I was like, nope, nope, not doing that. Have you ever sold a book that you've never seen come up for sale again? No. That is that's a big part of my like buying, selling, collecting philosophy, is that no matter how rare that book is, it'll come up for sale again. I mean, even super, super rare stuff like Suspense Comics #3, like this, and I mean, this one isn't like ultra rare. It's like 50 or 60 copies, I think, that are out there. This one here, this Alex Schomburg, like considered one of the top covers of all time. Like this one, you don't see it come up for sale very often, but I mean, in the last 5 years, I've still seen it come up for sale maybe 4 times. It still comes up for sale. Like it's a super rare book, but it does still come up for sale. Now, the tricky part is that the one that comes up for sale might be a 8.0, and it goes for $500,000, and you have zero chance, like at least for me, like zero chance at affording that book. Or is it going to be the 1.0 that comes up for sale that you actually have a shot, but then everybody else that collects this, that wants this book, is bidding against you? But yeah, that's generally been my philosophy, is that cool stuff comes up for sale all the time. There's, whether it's the Heritage auction or the, big Comic Connect auction or Comic Link or My Comic Shop or Hakes or whatever else, or on Instagram, like there's always cool stuff. So if you just want cool stuff, which is generally my philosophy, like I just want cool books. Like that's a big part of what when I'm buying things. Like sometimes there are books that I'm specifically like, I'm keeping my eye open for, like Suspense 3. But I mean, granted, like that one's kind of a pipe dream, but like I just want cool stuff. So if I keep a pretty generic outlook like that, then I will have a lot of opportunities to buy cool stuff, and I don't need to overpay for it. And so that tends to be my philosophy towards it, is that I just want cool stuff, and if I just am patient, I'll get some cool stuff for a decent price. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how I approach that. And we got Mark here. Says, yes, patience is the word. Yeah. That's generally how I approach it. I mean, I know like that can be tough though. Like it can be tough to pass on things. Like there's been a lot of times where I passed on things that, and it really, and I think that probably really affected people's like the psychology with buying during the comic boom, because you watched prices like either like just slowly trend up for decades or, for years, and it just follow their general normal trends with comics. And you're like, I've got time. I just got to, I'll just be patient and I can pick this thing up. I'll wait for that auction or whatever that goes a little lower and I'll get a good price. And then all of a sudden, everything just like immediately was going up. And then you're just like, oh no. Like, and that definitely impacted me too, where I was like, I'm never going to have an opportunity to get this book again. Like afterwards, when we look back, we're just like, oh, it was all crazy. It didn't make any sense. Like those prices weren't, were all like inflated by crypto or whatever else, free money and all this. But when you're in the middle of it, it's a different story, and that's why everybody was paying those prices. Like everybody after the fact with, the looking back, 2020 vision, that kind of thing, you think like, oh, it was so obvious, but it wasn't when you're in the middle of it. And there's books that you really want, or you've been looking for that you just think like, I'm never going to have a chance again because the prices are just going to keep going. And so, yeah, it's the hindsight. What is it? Hindsight is 2020. And that's what it is with those. I need to sell some. I just want cool stuff. Automatic count. That's not a bad phrase. Like, I feel like I just want cool stuff. I was kind of like, as I was saying, I'm like, I kind of like this. Like that is my philosophy. I just want cool stuff.